Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we've got another XI for you, this time, big game chokers. Here we go. Goalkeeper, Wojciech Szczesny. Now 27, Wojciech Szczesny still has time to change his ways, but the Pole learned choking from the best, joining Arsenal in 2006 as a trainee. While his performances in the league have generally been good, winning the Premier League Golden Glove in 2014, in the Champions League the stopper has struggled, losing 14 of his 32 matches in the competition to date. In those matches, Szczesny has conceded 44 goals, or 1.4 a game, compared to an average of 1.1 across his career as a whole, and he has taken just 1.5 points per game in European competition. Both of the red cards he's received as a professional came with Arsenal in the Champions League, with the second, against Galatasaray in 2014, costing him his place in the first team. Replacement David Ospina went on to concede 3 at home to Monaco, sending the Gunners out at the round of 16 despite facing their most beatable opponents in years. And let's not forget his contribution in the 2011 League Cup final, where a mix-up between the keeper and Laurent Koscielny allowed Obafemi Martins to tap into an empty net for the winner. It would take Wenger's side another 3 years to break their trophyless run, and Szczesny would concede 2 even in victory. Defender, Miroslav Dukic. Born in the former Yugoslavia, Miroslav Dukic spent 14 of his 18 years as a pro in Spain, joining Deportivo La Coruña in 1990. Los Turcos were a club on the up, winning promotion in Dukic's first year in northern Spain, after 18 years out of the top flight. Dukic played more than 35 league games 5 years in a row, and remarkably, just 3 years after returning to the Primera Division, Depor were competing for the title. Bebeto was the league's top scorer in 1993, and in 1994 the club went into the final matchday 1 point clear of Barcelona. A win would mean not only their first title in Depor history, but their first major trophy since their founding 88 years earlier. Deportivo faced Valencia, while Barca took on Sevilla. And though the Blaugrana twice trailed to goals from Davor Suker and Diego Simeone, they ran out 5-2 winners. Depor had to win, and with a score at 0-0 they won a penalty in the final minute. However, regular pen taker Donato had been subbed, and Bebeto refused to take the spot kick, leaving Dukic to step up. And he missed. Barcelona won the league. Dukic would eventually get his hands on the Spanish title with Valencia at the age of 36, but even then there was a bitter taste with the sweet, as Los Chelos 2 Champions League finals on the bounce. Defender, David Luiz. When Thiago Silva got suspended before Brazil's semi-final against Germany at the World Cup 2014, David Luiz was ready to step up. Named captain for the match, Luiz was hugely pumped up before the game, screaming out the national anthem, and with Brazil not having lost a competitive game on home soil since 1975, history was in their favour. But as you know, Germany were 5-0 up at half-time, with Brazil conceding more in that 45 minutes than they had allowed in any of the previous 3 World Cups as a whole. Luiz was personally at fault for 5 of the 7 goals the Seleção conceded, and could have been sent off if the referee had spotted either of the 2 elbows he aimed at Miroslav Klose. Though he made 3 tackles and 3 interceptions, that was mostly because of the relentless waves of German attacks. And when his heat map emerged after the game, it showed that Luiz had spent more time in wide areas or in his opponent's half than he had in his usual centre-back zone. To be fair to him, Fernandinho and Marcelo were equally embarrassing on the night, but neither of them had become the most expensive defender of all time under a month earlier, as Paris Saint-Germain paid £50 million for Luiz's services. Defender, John Terry. A crucial player in Chelsea's many successes, John Terry has still occasionally made life more difficult for his club. The centre-back made the UEFA Team of the Year in 2005, 2007 and 2008, but the final time must have felt like a cruel joke, after Terry slipped in the Champions League final, missing his shootout penalty and handing Man United a second European crown. 4 years later, Terry had a chance at redemption. Chelsea had unexpectedly made the semis despite horrific domestic form which would eventually see them finish 6th. The defender was a man-mountain in the first leg against Barcelona as the Blues won 1-0 at home, but 37 minutes into the return fixture he was sent off for a stupid kick-out at Alexis Sanchez, letting his temper put his team's shot at glory in jeopardy. Chelsea went on to mount a brilliant defensive effort without their captain, drawing 2-2 and going on to the final where they faced Bayern, again without the suspended Terry. Although a solid rearguard action took the game to penalties, this time they scored 4 out of 5 and finally took the silverware to Stamford Bridge. Rather than realise that his team had succeeded despite his stupidity, Terry appeared in full kit to lift the trophy.
Hold up, wait right there. Are you subscribed to Football Daily? No? Then click the red button down there and you won't regret it.
Right midfield, Arjen Robben. After 10 titles in 4 different countries, Arjen Robben would not be most football fans' first choice as a bottler. But the Dutchman has had some high-profile failures, in particular at the 2010 World Cup. Robben had starred in the semi-final against Uruguay, scoring the winner in a 3-2 thriller to set up a final against favourite Spain. The game is mostly remembered for Spanish dominance and Dutch fouling, but Robben arguably had the best chances of the match, when he was put through by Wesley Sneijder. However, Iker Casillas came out on top in the one-on-one and Spain won in extra time. But poor luck wasn't done with Robben. 2 years later, he played in his first Champions League final against Chelsea. Bayern were at home at the Allianz Arena, but the Blues put in a dogged defensive performance, taking the game to extra time. Ribery won Bayern a penalty and Robben stepped forward to take it. But while the Frenchman was being treated for an injury, Mikel and Drogba took a moment to psych out their former teammate, telling him that Czech knew where he was going. Robben missed the spot kick and was so devastated that when the shootout arrived, he refused to take his penalty, and Bayern lost 4-3. Fortunately, a year later he made amends, assisting, scoring and being voted man of the match as Bayern won the biggest trophy in club football for the first time in 12 attempts. Central midfield, Raynald Pedros. In 1996, Zinedine Zidane wasn't the only brilliant young playmaker in the French national team. Raynald Pedros had made his name at Nantes, helping the club reach the Champions League semi-finals 2 years earlier, and was included in the squad for Euro 1996 as a creative option from the bench. France waltzed through the group stage and dispatched the Netherlands in the quarter-final, scoring all 5 of their penalties in the decisive shootout. In the semi-final against the Czech Republic, they once again faced spot kicks, and Pedros, who had only been subbed on in the second half, volunteered to take their 6th penalty, expecting they'd win before he was called upon. Instead, all 10 penalties were scored, and Pedros stepped up, but he hit it straight down the middle and keeper Petr Kuba saved, allowing Miroslav Kladek to knock France out with his effort. The French press blamed the midfielder for another missed opportunity, and he was never capped again, while Nantes sold him on to Marseille. Injuries and bad publicity meant Pedros would only play for 12 clubs in the next 13 years, and never make a comeback at the top level. However, he now coaches Lyon's women's side, one of the world's best, and perhaps can make amends from the sideline. Central midfield, Antonio Conte. We're slightly cheating here as Antonio Conte gets a place in our team for his record as a coach, not a player. The Italian won 5 Scudetti and a Champions League while playing for Juve, but European football has not proved such a fertile hunting ground for him during his managerial career. Conte has won just 9 of his 23 matches as a coach in the Champions League, and only 2 of those at the knockout stage, both against Celtic in 2013. He's also gone to just 2 finals in 12 years in management, in the 2012 Coppa Italia and the 2017 FA Cup final, and both times he lost, against Napoli and Arsenal respectively, giving him a worse win rate in competition-deciding games than even Jurgen Klopp, who has just 1 win in 6. With rumours he'll depart Chelsea, perhaps for Paris Saint-Germain in 2018, Conte will look forward to an opportunity to change his cup record. Left midfield, Roberto Baggio. Widely considered as one of Italy's most talented players ever, Roberto Baggio was a serial underachiever. He played for Juventus, Milan, Inter in his country, but won just 4 trophies in a 22-year career. A mix of a forward and an attacking midfielder, Baggio scored 27 goals for the Azzurri, a third of those at World Cups. But when it came to the 1994 final, the divine ponytail was to fluff his lines. After a 0-0 draw against Brazil, the game went to penalties, the first World Cup final to do so. Italy had already missed 2 through Franco Baresi and Daniele Massaro, who would pay for his error by never receiving another cap. But Baggio had the chance to keep Italy in it with their 5th spot kick, which he duly wasted, blasting the ball over the bar and giving Brazil their 4th triumph. And that wasn't the end of his bad luck. During Baggio's 5 years with Juventus, the Bianconeri never reached the Champions League final, but as soon as he left for Milan in 1995, Juve won the tournament and made the 2 finals after that. Meanwhile, Milan, who had reached the showpiece match 3 times in a row before Baggio arrived, would not go to another for 8 years once he turned up, meaning that he never played in the biggest game in club football. Given how World Cup '94 went for him, perhaps that was a relief. Forward, Gonzalo Higuain. Despite scoring more than 20 goals in 8 of his last 10 seasons, Gonzalo Higuain has become known as one of football's worst bottlers, thanks to his failures with the Argentinian national team. Pepita has played in 1 World Cup final and 2 Copa America finals since 2014. Losing all 3 and incurring the anger of Barcelona fans desperate for Messi to get his hands on an international trophy. Against Germany in 2014, a foolish header from Toni Kroos put Higuain clean through on goal, but he could only drag his shot wide, and he would have a goal ruled offside later in the first half, after starting his run too early. In the Copa America in 2015, a wicked cross from Lavezzi gave Higuain a tap-in, but he managed to hit the side netting. He went on to miss a penalty in the shootout, and in the 2016 Centenario, he stole the ball and ran in on goal unopposed, chipping Claudio Bravo but putting it wide. That time he was subbed before the spot kicks. Sadly, his yips with the Albiceleste will probably never be forgotten, despite his incredible record of over 300 career goals. Unless perhaps he gets one more chance. Forward, Johnny Rep. Much like Gonzalo Higuain, Johnny Rep makes our list not for his exploits at club level, but his errors on the international stage. An Ajax product, Rep won 2 titles and 2 European Cups with the Amsterdam club in the early 70s, scoring the winner in the 1973 final, and later played for Saint-Etienne with Michel Platini, where he added another domestic championship. These achievements made him a regular in the Dutch national team, and Rep played for the Orange at the 1974 and 1978 World Cups, scoring 7 of his 12 international goals at the 2 tournaments, the most by any Dutchman. That might make him sound like a clutch player, but Rep became known as a bottler in his homeland after missing huge chances in 2 World Cup finals, fluffing a 1-on-1 against West Germany in '74 and a free header against Argentina in '78. Both times a goal would have put the Netherlands ahead and could have prevented them becoming the best team never to be world champions. Forward, Kevin Keegan. Like Conte, Kevin Keegan's choke came as a manager, not a player, though he did lose the European Cup final with Hamburg in 1980. After retiring in 1985, he spent 7 years out of the game before taking the manager's position at Newcastle, and quickly lifted the Magpies from bottom of the 2nd Division to the Premier League, and then to 3rd place in his first season back in the top flight. By 1995, Newcastle looked set to win a first major trophy in 50 years. They were top from August until March, and at the end of January, their lead over Alex Ferguson's Man United was a massive 17 points. However, a run of 4 losses in 6 games, including a defeat to United, the first time Newcastle had dropped points at home all season, tightened the race up again. To make matters worse, Fergie enraged Keegan by publicly suggesting that teams tried harder against United than Newcastle, prompting the former England forward to go on his famous "I would love it if we beat them" rant. Newcastle drew their final 2 games of the season, the Red Devils won theirs, and the title went to Old Trafford. Keegan was broken, and though Newcastle came second again the next season, he resigned halfway through the campaign.
Congratulations, you've reached the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you're looking for more great content, why don't you click in this box here? And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.